Present. We want to go around and state our names.
Greg Hepburn, Alderman. Scott Kelligan, Alderman. Paul Shabilsky, City Clerk.
Paul Valor, Public Works.
Joe Terry, Director of Public Works.
Tim Besarci, Finance.
Terry Dolan, Alderman.
Joe is there for the alderperson. Agenda item number 2. Consider approval of a request from the Mead Witter Foundation for permission to proceed with repairs to the memorial clock and bell tower.
Okay, we've had this on here previous meetings a couple of times, and basically the Mead Witter is sponsoring a grant to do repairs to the clock bell tower, and since it is city property, they have to request permission to do the repairs, and that's what they're asking at this time. So I recommend approval of the procedure with the repairs.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from the Mead Witter Foundation for permission to proceed with repairs to the memorial clock and bell tower.
Second that. Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, consider for approval a recommendation from Statewide Services to deny a claim from Karina Krajewski for damages to residents located at 910 17th Street South due to a sewer backup.
Right, this is Karina Krajewski filed a claim for a sewer backup due to an investigation resulted that there was a clog in the sewer line, but the city had no knowledge or was not liable for it, and so Statewide Services is recommending denial of the claim, and by recommending denial of the claim, all we're doing is shortening the statute of limitations to 6 months that Mrs. Krajewski could pursue further legal action, but it just has to occur in that 6 months.
I'll make a motion to approve a recommendation from Statewide Services to deny a claim from Karina Krajewski for damages to residents located at 910 17th Street South due to a sewer backup.
Second.
Motion and a second to deny the claim. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, consider for approval a recommendation from Statewide Services to deny a claim from Laura Knudsen for the cost of cleaning her vehicle due to paint overspray.
This is where Laura Knudsen filed a claim from overspray from crews painting lines. The investigation is that was not our contractor or our crews doing that in that location. So Statewide Services is recommending denial of the claim.
I'll make a motion for approval, recommendation from Statewide Services to deny a claim from Laura Knudsen for the cost of cleaning her vehicle due to paint overspray.
Second that.
Motion and a second to deny the claim. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 5, consider approval of a request to purchase 2 zero-turn mowers and trailer.
Okay, so what you guys have in front of you, we currently have 2 1990 lawnmowers that have been in service obviously for 27 years. One of them, or they're starting to get beyond their service life, and so we're looking at purchasing 2 new ones with a trailer. Part of the idea is that we're going to try to mow the medians on the expressway with them. Right now we mow those with the 16-foot mowers, which you see those guys bouncing off in the curbs all the time and can be kind of cumbersome. These zero-turn mowers are more efficient, more compact, so our thought is that we'll be able to stay on the median, mow with them, you know, and then continue on down the expressway, and then just need the trailer to pick them up and move them to the next location, you know, multiple blocks down the line. As you can see on the spreadsheet there, we requested multiple options looking at, I guess you got 4 different vendors, and you have the option of air-cooled gas engines, only one liquid-cooled gas engine, and then diesel mowers. Multiple salespeople, you know, our original thought was going with diesel, but multiple salespeople said that, you know, the mowers themselves will wear out before the engines do, no matter what we purchase or whatever. So it's our recommendation to purchase the only liquid cooled option that was proposed to us. And the reason for that is that if we're looking at running these things 7 hours a day pretty consistently, where a lot of the commercial mower people will mow for an hour, transport to another location for 15-20 minutes, then mow for a half hour again, where we're feeling that we're going to be constantly running the mower for a long period of time. That's why we're choosing to go with the liquid cooled model versus the air cooled model. Both of these, or all of these manufacturers have a bagging unit that can come on and off of the machine. The thought is that we would also use this in our fall cleanup to make us more productive there. Right now we just have one leaf, we call it the leaf dragon or whatever, but it's got a conveyor belt that grabs about a yard of leaves and then dumps it into the back of the truck. These mowers, we're thinking that we'll be able to move to a location, pick up leaves with 3 different units then instead of one, and then get through our park system a lot quicker than what we currently do. So we're spending about, speaking out of school here, about $3,000 extra, but it'll make them a little bit more productive in the spring and the fall of the year. So it's our recommendation then to purchase the Skag Turf Tiger 2 from Thorpe Electric for $30,240, and then requesting to purchase a trailer from Roosh Companies here in Wisconsin Rapids for $3,673.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 202 turn mowers from Thorpe Electric Motor Service for $30,240 and a trailer from Roosh Companies for $3,673.
Second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, consider approval of a request to purchase a 16-foot mower.
So this item was actually on our equipment replacement fund for last year, but we just failed to get it done. We did some late summer, early fall, where we actually had both of these manufacturers bring us a unit. Currently, our big mowers like this, we have 2 2008s and then one 1995. The 1995 is in really rough shape, and it's 2-wheel drive or whatever, so that's the one that we're proposing to get rid of. We're just looking at one more right now. Like I say, we had both of these brought in as demos. There is a use for having these 3 mowers, but we're looking at, instead of purchasing a second mower you can see at $80,000, to try to look at other attachments that we can possibly put on some of our other equipment to replace this $80,000, because once again, you're using it for 6 months out of the year and then it sits through the winter months or the fall. So trying to make some of the other stuff be able to use it 10 months out of the year or whatever. So right now we're just requesting to purchase this Jacobson lawnmower. As you can see on your spreadsheet, we looked at something that had a full cab with air conditioning, and then standard to what we have right now, where we just have the rollover protection with the sun canopy on the top. In the Jacobson, and then in the Toros, we didn't request, or we did request it, but I didn't want to show it because it was so expensive. But we had a proposal for both the one that we demoed and a brand new unit. So we're making the recommendation, on purchasing the Jacobson, the HR 800 from Horse Distributing. Like I say, this mower here will be one of the 3 that are used in mowing the larger road right-of-way spaces, where they can mow 16 feet at a crack, and or 12 feet, depending upon the configuration. They can mow with all 3 down, or 1 down and 2 up, or so. In some of the wider spaces, it's more convenient to have this bigger one.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to purchase a 16-foot mower from Jacobson, or a Jacobson 16-foot mower from Horse Distributing for the price of $79,997.
Motion and a second to purchase a 16-foot mower from Horse Distributing. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, review and consider approval of the temporary limited easement for parcel 16 McMillan Memorial Library.
So the referral is kind of a technicality. There's no funds that need to exchange hands, but in order to accommodate the East Grand Avenue reconstruction project, a temporary limited easement is necessary adjacent to the library property so that sidewalk and landscaping can be restored. Since it's a city-owned facility, the city needs to approve the temporary limited easement. And so that's the request, is for the city to approve the temporary limited easement for the McMillan Memorial Library.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary limited easement for parcel 16 McMillan Memorial Library.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, review and consider approval of the gas distribution easement for Centralia Center parking lot.
So We Energies is proposing making some changes to the alignment of the gas service. And taking a look at the plans that were provided, the recommended location is favorable for the city. It accommodates future straightening of 3rd Avenue if that's desired, or 3rd Avenue can stay aligned just as it is. And so as a result, staff recommends a motion to approve the easement.
Make a motion to approve the gas distribution easement for Centralia Center parking lot as presented.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 9, review and consider award of the base bid for phase 1 of the East Riverbank project to the low qualified bidder.
So I believe you received an updated sheet. If not, the funding gap is at the bottom of the sheet, should be $345,500. That should be the sheet you have. If you do not have that sheet, let me know, and I have extra copies.
I emailed it this morning, so.
Kind of email, it's right. The one you just emailed?
Yep.
Yeah, this morning, yeah.
Yep.
Provided.
So the East Riverbank project has been let for bid. There were a number of alternates included in the bid. The low qualified bidder is Yankee General Contractors for $2,688,631.75. We were able to meet with them and make some modifications that was over our anticipated amount for that project. And so we have looked at some reductions, including the alternates shown on the sheet. The restroom will be postponed, and we can possibly seek an additional DNR grant for the restrooms that would qualify. With the restroom not included, the architecture addition, the silk screen back glass versus frosted, can be postponed. And staff also recommends postponing the lighting along the trail in Demich Park in order to try to meet the budget as best as possible. There was also a $41,000 reduction by negotiating some chain link type fencing that'll be the same as what we're installing on First Street North with the construction project that we started last year, we'll be finishing this year. So that's a $41,000 reduction. There were some concerns from the DNR and the Army Corps of Engineers about the fishing jetties that were proposed, and so removing them reduces the cost to reduces those costs by $21,100, and the outright removal of some railing where we're able to do a little bit different riprap and erosion control measures naturally. We can eliminate some railing that way. That reduced the project by $20,000. So we're looking for a project award of $2,606,531.75. Do we want to discuss would it be best to discuss the funding gap separately? Or do we want to discuss that?
I mean, I guess we, I mean, obviously approval of that is contingent upon, as Joe alluded to, there was a $345,000 gap from what we anticipated, what we budgeted in the original 2018 budget, and basically that was consisted of a revised estimate, looking at the carry forward, so we recalculated, and we were short that amount of money, and then the difference between the 345 and 5 and the 400,000 that you'll see proposed in the resolution is for the site furnishings, which came in slightly above, about $75,000. So we'll be about $21,000 short, but some of this, we'll kind of just monitor the project as it goes. We have obviously construction inspection and grant administration by a consultant for $150. So if we save some money there, might be able to apply that to that $21,000, or just evaluate the project and determine if there's additional needed funding of approximately $20,000 as we get into the project. So we had just gotten the actual site furnishing numbers
Just a few minutes ago.
not too long ago.
So the recommendation would be to award the bid to Yankee General Contractors in the amount of $2,688,631.75 with the reductions in alternates as shown in the table. And then probably do a second motion for the, or is a motion needed? Is that going to be for the?
That's in the
In the
resolution.
Of the resolution, okay.
And also just maybe note obviously in the motion that obviously this is being funded partially by the carryover, but also a
Stewardship grant.
But also bond proceeds, new bond proceeds of $763,576, which will be approved. We'll be starting to put together that financing, so that'll be approved at another date. But obviously, if we're committing to awarding the bid here, that we're committing to borrowing that portion for this project.
This has nothing to do, this is the river bank and nothing to do with the river trail.
It is both.
So the trail is in my district, and there was some concern about the residents in that area to get involved. And Joe met with them, and both Joes last year, and the mayor. And then they said they wanted an update as to the progress so they could have input. So I don't know what that status is.
So we had some public information meetings as soon as the plans were complete, and I think Joe Eichstead met individually with several residents as well.
So there doesn't have to be another meeting of the group that met with you in the fall?
We'll have a pre-construction meeting, certainly. We'll do an on-site, either on-site or in the council chambers, pre-construction to go over the project, the scheduling, and all of those items. But
Was there a public hearing, or was it for something else last week?
there was a public hearing also for the project to review the DNR permit application. That was noticed as well.
Did Joe meet with the resident with regard to those trees?
I know we've talked to them several times about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought, I think it was so successful what you did on First Street North, meeting with
Yes.
and I think the residents in that area would like the same process.
Yeah, it would be my intention that for all of our construction projects, wherever possible, and this would be one of them, that we would do a pre-construction meeting on site and walk the entire project with residents so that we can review the plans as they have questions about what's going to happen right here, that we can look at the plans and talk about those types of activities.
That's great, good.
Well, I guess, excuse me, make a motion then to approve or award the base bid to Yankee General Contractors in the amount of $2,688,631.75 with the selection or reduction of alternate items as shown in, as presented.
For a total of 2,000,006, I think we should have that. Yeah, for a total of $2,606,531.75. Just so we get that in the motion, that number.
Second that?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the item? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 10. Review and consider approval of amendment number 1 to modify the engineering consulting services contract with MSA Professional Services for additional design work related to the recreational complex at Weir Field, limiting the amount to $175,000.
So the project scope creeped a little bit on the project with, really with some significant master planning in the park area surrounding the aquatics, some redesign for the tennis courts, and and a few items in the aquatic facility itself. The request from MSA was for, I think it was $193,000 change in scope amendment. The mayor and I had met with MSA and expressed some concern that that full amount was really inappropriate because it wasn't previously approved by the council. That the change in scope needs to be identified before it occurs, not after. And so determined that the $190,000 amendment was not reasonable, and tentatively have an agreement that they would accept a $175,000 amendment. I believe that's a reasonable amount for the extra work that was done, and justifiable for the significance of the project.
So they didn't, when we hired them, I guess, for this, they didn't just say, we'll take care of this whole project, here's the amount you pay, and
So the scope of the project was defined, and throughout the design process, when we were talking about the various bodies of water in the pool, talking about the extra costs and design work to heat and cool the area, the entry area that otherwise wouldn't be heated in the wintertime for as a warming house, skating rink. A number of those types of items weren't included in the actual design scope. And so as we worked on the design of the project, the desire was to make it a year-round facility. We talked about those things, worked that into the design. That design scope really should have been identified before MSA did any of that work. Really should have been a red flag saying, hey, if we're going to do this work, we'd be glad to do it for you, but it is outside the scope, and we need to come to some kind of an arrangement on how we're going to do that. The appropriate thing to do would have been to try to identify what that would have cost, or have a good idea, and then brought that before the council before that work took place. So the scope creep occurred really as staff and a few elected officials, as we were working on the project, really thinking in best interest of the project. And we did not back up, neither the city nor MSA backed up and revisited the original scope. And so we were a little surprised by the request, but in reviewing the request, it's a legitimate request. The work was done. It was work outside of the scope of the contract, and we believe compensation is due, but not to the extent that they're asking, simply because it should have been identified before that work took place. So in essence, we're asking for a penalty of sorts, and they were willing to compromise to that extent.
Is this identified in the contract, though, that they would just do this kind of stuff? Or it was ambiguous, like what you're saying?
No, the contract was specific as far as what would be done, and this adjustment identifies the additional things that were
They
done.
just decided to, okay.
Well, and we were working with them at the time. It wasn't,
Sure.
you know.
Okay.
It
Like
wasn't
they
like,
just
hey,
decided to
No, it
add
wasn't,
the-
exactly.
Okay.
It's called scope creep, and it does happen. It's something that we want to avoid.
Doesn't always happen in the 9 to 12% range, though. At least
No.
that's been my experience.
Right.
My 2 cents for running projects, but, I mean, what, the package, if you read, it's some of the stuff that residents have actually asked about, right?
Correct.
The skate, the skate part of it and all
Yep.
that, so it is a creep, but it's per some requests that we've heard, so.
And some of that's also for, if you take a look, it's for construction inspection work. You know, the project isn't a $8 million project anymore, it's a $12 million project. And so some of that is for work that hasn't occurred yet and will take more effort because it's a larger project than what was initially anticipated. We are, however, paying them based on time and materials not to exceed those amounts. So if the project doesn't, if construction doesn't start right away, the city isn't going to be paying those costs right away, based on actual time spent on the project.
And I'm actually a little off there, I'm looking at the original fee, $795, and increase is $194, so that's 20%.
And the project costs, because of the scope of the project, increased about 25%.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
comparable.
it's relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, it's comparable.
We don't want to shortchange the project. It's a big project, we know.
Yeah, and those services for the project management are critical to a successful project. That's not somewhere, when we let the thing, that's not somewhere on a project of this order of magnitude that we want to skimp on.
Well, you got it down to 175. So it's not really 194 either. So.
Correct.
Well, I'll make a motion then to approve amendment number 1 under the condition that the total additional cost for the scope identified will be $175,000. And with the understanding that any future work outside of the scope of the contract needs to be identified and approved by council prior to the work being performed.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, review and consider approval of a contract with Quest Civil Engineers to complete a wetland delineation at the Rapids East Commerce Center.
Okay. Adam was unable to be here, so he said if you want to hold it over till the next meeting, that's fine. Otherwise, basically what he's requesting is that in the Rapids East Commerce Center, and I think that'd be east of 48th, that parcel there, when we applied for city certified site, we had a wetland delineation done in 2008, and basically the recommendation is that every 10 years you should update that. And basically we're at that point, and Adam expresses in order to remain shovel ready, he recommends that we probably have another study done from Quest Civil Engineers at a cost of $3,616. We'll have to bring forth, it's a TID eligible expense, but we'll have to bring forward a resolution next month to amend the 2018 budget to include that amount. But it's up to you if you want to approve it tonight or hold it over to when Adam can be here and answer any additional questions you may have.
Incidentally, there is a site selector that is asking about that particular site
right now. We've provided information on wastewater capacities and answered a number of utility type questions, so.
Pretty confident that
It has
Quest,
to be done.
Yeah.
pretty confident that Quest Engineering did it in 2008, so it's just them doing it again.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the contract with Quest Civil Engineers complete the wetland delineation at the Rapids East Commerce Center for the cost of $3,616.32.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the contract with Quest. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 12, consider for approval a resolution number 11 amending the 2017 budget.
All right, I emailed you this morning an updated resolution because we finalized the numbers on the riverbank. Basically, this is a year-end transfer resolution, revenue appropriation revenue, and the majority of this is that throughout the year we get in a lot of unbudgeted revenues, a lot of donations, grants, things like that nature. And then so when we get in those, basically this resolution just basically amends the budget to appropriate that money over to the expenditure account. And a lot of those donations are sitting there that might be expended in 2018. So what we do is we appropriate over the expenditure in 2017, and then we have our carry forward amount. And basically next month I'll be bringing forth a resolution in amending the 2018 budget that will basically requesting that when those monies be carried forward into 2018 and appropriated for expenditure in 2018. The one item obviously is the aquatics, the East Side Riverbank Path with the $400,000 deficit that we discussed earlier this evening. And basically that is being funded from two sources. $300,000 of the $400,000 deficit is being transferred for the general fund reserves into the riverbank fund, and then $100,000 from the public works construction fund is being transferred out of the reserves there into the riverbank fund. And basically, so we're using reserves as opposed to increasing the borrowing for that project. Other than that, it's just basically, if you have any specific questions about any of the ones, but they're pretty consistent from year to year. The housing rehab and Hickory funds, that's our revolving loans for housing programs, and basically we're just taking those revenues that receive loan repayments and appropriating them over. The room tax, and the public works construction fund, Minnesota property is 16th and Pepper to North Point. And basically what we're just proposing is that $40,000 be appropriated over into the building and land acquisition account for future acquisition if there would be one, and that would be in the public works construction fund. Obviously that, is all those carry forward monies are subject to approval by council, but we're just appropriating it over to that. The grants and donations funds, as you can see, we've got various donations from a lot of different things. The big one would be the FEMA grant that the firefighters received for the SCBA for turnout gear, and we're just appropriating that over to cover the expenditure. And then the rest of them are pretty much just donations. And the equipment replacement fund, as we sell or trade in or sell some of our machinery fleet and equipment, basically I categorize those and then appropriate them over to those replacement accounts so that they can be used to fund future expenditures. So, and like I said, next month I'll be bringing forth a carryover resolution where we'll be actually identifying carrying forward the various funds. So if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 11, amending the 2017 budget as just presented.
Motion and a second to approve the budget resolution. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13, consider approval of a Class B liquor license and Class B beer license application submitted by Door 212 LLC, doing business as Door 212 for the premises located at 212 West Grand Avenue.
Okay, so currently the premises at 212 West Grand is Mulligan's Irish Pub. And OWS Enterprises, the LLC that is licensed at that premises, is surrendering their license. There's a letter of surrender. Door 212 LLC is Lee Chipman's LLC, the owner of Guinness, and he has a lease agreement and has completed the original alcohol beverage retail license application for that premises. And there is publication, has been legal publication for Lee's application to become licensed on that premises. So all the paperwork is sufficient.
Make a motion to approve the Class B liquor license and Class B beer license application submitted by Door 212 LLC doing business as Door 212 for the premises at 212 West Grand Avenue. Motion is second to approve the licenses. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, beverage operator license applications. I believe everyone had a chance to look at them.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the beverage operator license applications as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the beverage operator license applications. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, audit of the bills for February. They were emailed to us. I don't know if you guys need to.
Make a motion for audit of the bills for February 2018 to approve check number 70982 to 71320 and manual check numbers 99617 to 99634.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the audit of the bills. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16, set next meeting date.
I have a question
Oh, sorry.
for the next meeting.
Yeah.
We had on the agenda in the fall, there's a residence 500 block, 2nd Street. There's a 29, it's an apartment of 29 residents. And there's no parking on 3rd Street, there's no parking on Witter. And he proposed to the Public Works to have perpendicular parking, and he would pay a substantial amount for that, but it wasn't decided. So it went to the Common Council, and it was approved to put in the parking. And I think the month was November, I'm not sure, one of those months. And, but it wasn't approved. So then I asked for it to come back last month to the Public Works so it can be put to bed. You know, how much would this landlord pay and how much, and it's public parking, it's not private parking. And so, and Joe mentioned it should come to this meeting, which makes sense, it's finance and property. So, but it wasn't on this agenda, and he would like to just have that resolved one way or the other. So could that item be put on the next month's agenda at the meeting? That's why I brought it up now, because you're scheduling next month's meeting, and I don't know, so.
What is he exactly requesting?
Okay, the request is, I'm not sure exactly, he was working with Joe Eisted, so the details I don't know. But the idea of cut out some of the curb and put in parallel parking in front of the residence, because he has 29 apartments and he has underground parking for 26. And you with 29 apartments, you have visitors. And if you go down 2nd Street, it becomes kind of a bottleneck. And if you're encouraging with the East Side Riverbank project, the whole idea is bring people downtown and walk along the trail. So what you're going to have is more parking problems as it kind of pinches a little bit toward the south. And you also have problems too with parking with cars out there with snow plowing too, because it does become, so that's the concept behind it. And so the amount, I don't know what he talked with Joe about the cost. I think they were floating around 7,000 to 10,000, and he'd be willing to pay 50% of that. I can't speak for him, but around 50% of it. So he would like to come to the next meeting and talk to finance and property with Joe and Joyce.
Joe prior to making a request, I suppose.
So was the project approved?
Yeah.
So what was approved, and we probably shouldn't get into too much detail
Yeah, I know. It's
on the
gotta
flow
get-
item, but
Yeah.
is just a summary. What was approved was allowing the angle parking to be installed. There was no approval for it to be a city project, and that's the current dilemma.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't mean to go in detail, but it explains.
Well, that's my thing is whether his Public Works approved it as a
Yeah, so-
that the city's going to do the project.
No. What Public Works approved was allowing the property owner to convert.
So is he going to do it then?
I went to the
He's asking for the city to participate now.
Well, I'm under a misunderstanding. I went to the common council to approve that angle parking to occur. Now, how it's going to be paid was undecided. It's kind of a very,
I think he should probably submit something to somebody.
okay.
I think.
Yeah, he should put in a formal request. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's like we have to know exactly what he's requesting and
Right, I
if
didn't
he's
mean
going to
to
do
go
the
in
work,
detail,
city's
but
going to do work, you know.
It's
so-
convoluted that.
Yeah, sounds like
So
it.
who would he put so if I call him, who would he put the
You
request?
can, the city clerk can take a referral from
Yeah.
it
Sure can.
and stuff like that, and we'll, so.
Sounds good to me. He's one of my constituents.
Okay, yeah, we just need to know exactly what he's requesting, that's so that, okay.
Okay.
So,
I think April 10th.
well, okay, here's the thing, because I think, with the transition of the council,
Right.
I think it's being proposed that the 10th will be a council meeting of the old council.
Oh, that was the 12th.
That's what.
Or
the
12th, or that week.
The 12th's what's been pulled for,
Oh.
but yes, that week is tentatively going to be the last meeting of this council.
Okay, so, all right.
So like
I'm
you
used to
got a point, the
Tuesdays.
3rd might be the best day, but I mean, it's up to you.
So the 3rd,
But I mean, if it's on the 12th tentatively.
I might not be able to be back here till probably 6:30.
I won't be here. I'll be in Ohio
On the 3rd, what about,
that whole week.
Oh,
are
boy.
you gonna miss your last finance meeting?
Wow.
Move it out some more and I'll miss it.
I mean, do you think we could have it on the 10th is election day, isn't it? Is it?
No, the 3rd's
Third.
election.
What Thursday, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, the 10th is fine, it's a quick turnaround, but we can do it. It's fine.
Or, I guess it'd be either the
Yeah, what about Monday?
Monday the 9th.
We can meet on Monday.
You can meet whenever you so choose, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
You're the chair.
Right. Okay, so the 9th, 5 o'clock?
Sure.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, item number 17 is adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
We are adjourned.